Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy.
All right, welcome back, book friends. Speaking of cozy, what is making you feel cozy these days? For me, like we were just talking about before we hit record, I have been reading, and doing some more reading. And by the way, I've been reading. I am still in the throes of reading the tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. And I'm looking to finish that up probably within the week because I am just loving it. Obviously, we've been reading Mistborn, loving that, loving that.
Yeah.
I will talk more about that at the end of this episode. But on top of that, we're starting to get into, I mean, in Texas, we would love to believe that we're already in fall, but it's starting to feel, like I'm starting to manifest the fall vibes, right? And so I came across a TikTok of someone reading some horror, which I haven't read a lot of, so I would like to get more into that. But I'm currently reading The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell, I believe, and that is also very good. So all the reading has been keeping me cozy.
That's so awesome. I love it. I don't think I've ever read like a true horror book. So that's something I want to dip my toes a little bit into this fall season.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you guys. Like I have tried maybe what I thought was a horror, I actually was more of a thriller. And so that doesn't really count as a horror. So like I kind of want to do that too. Although I'm kind of a scaredy cat because I live alone, so I'd have to pick a really good one.
Are you talking about The Silent Patient?
Yeah, but that's more of a thriller. It's not really a horror. So like I read that.
Correct, yeah.
Not as great as everyone's making it out to be. The ending is mind-blowing, but literally the whole way there, you're just kind of bored. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's just me. I love that though. I do love that we're getting into cozy fall vibes. Like literally the fall is probably one of my favorite seasons. So like, I'm so happy we're finally getting there. Can we just get cold weather, please? Like, please hurry up. Like that's all I care about.
Well, you'll have to wait until early in the year for Texas.
I know.
Want real cold.
I know. Okay, so for me, what's keeping me cozy is I been also kind of just been taking advantage. Like I've been on a little 2-week break from my dissertation, and unfortunately, it's coming to an end today. So I got to get back to writing tomorrow. But whatever, I know. But I have been taking full advantage of my time off with couch, like lots of laying on the couch, watching TV, catching up on shows I haven't watched in a while. But what kept me cozy this past weekend, y'all, is I finally read one of the books that Ethan has been recommending to me for a while now. And I absolutely ate it up, y'all. So I finally read. Okay. So Ethan has been recommending 2 books to me for a while. And it's not that I've been ignoring him. They're all my TBR. I just have so many books to read that I can never catch up. So one of them is Red, White, and Royal Blue. So
yay!
I finally read it on Saturday. It made my heart so happy. I was like crying happy tears. I fell in love with Alex and Henry. I just wanted to be there with them, fighting their fight with them. It was just such a beautiful, emotional book. And it kept me so cozy all weekend. That's all I've been thinking about. I even watched the movie just to kind of get a little bit of the characters, even though the movie doesn't do the book justice at all. But I was just trying to be back with the characters. Just want to be there with them because they're just so amazing. I love the story.
That's awesome.
So I like recommend this book to everybody. Please read it. Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's the cutest romance. One of the best forbidden romances out there. Like absolutely love the yearning. It was top notch. Like loved it.
Yay, that has been on my TBR for so long, so I want to read it too.
It's so good. But yes, Ethan, I'm so like, what have I been doing that I haven't read this before? Like, that's how upset that's how good it was. What about you, Steph?
That's awesome. So again, I think we've all been talking about how we've had some time off. So as we're recording this, it's Labor Day, so we've all had some extra time off this weekend, and I obviously did a lot of reading, but I also wanted to be productive. Not that reading isn't productive, but I have just been meaning to declutter our cabinets in the kitchen for forever. Jen, you've seen how tiny our kitchen is.
Yeah.
We have like no space and like hardly any cabinet space specifically. So I have collected mugs for a while, but like recently, within the past year really, I've realized I just don't need them. They're cluttering up our cabinets that we don't even have space in. I hardly ever drink hot beverages and use my mugs, so I needed to declutter, and I finally did that this afternoon.
Hey.
I got rid of so much. We have a whole like extra bit of cabinet space now. Not that we mean to fill it up right away or anything, but it's just nice to not have to pull everything out to grab one thing. So
Yeah. I had been
yeah,
meaning to text you.
that's
I was
what
going to
kept me
ask you
cozy.
earlier. Yeah. I was like, I wonder, because I remember you told me that's what you wanted to do with your weekend, and I was going to text you, hey, did you declutter? Like, or did you not
I
end up doing
did.
it? Good.
Yeah, no, I did. There's like a lot more I could get rid of, but like the mug situation was the one thing on my mind. It's been on my mind for forever. I'm just
So
like,
how
I don't use
many
all these mugs.
how many did you get rid of?
Oh, I don't know. I've too many to count.
Okay, so I mean, obviously Steph and Ethan know this about me, but for those that don't know this about me, I love collecting mugs. And my brother and other people who've known me have been trying to get me to get rid of these mugs because they do take up a lot of cabinet space.
Do
I
you
even
use them all?
I use about half of them ish.
Mm.
So I
And like,
collect.
don't get me wrong, we still have a lot of mugs. Like, I have a full
I
shelf of mugs
just
still
love
that
mugs,
are still
y'all.
gonna collect us.
Yeah. No, I have seasonal mugs. Like I try to buy them all the cutesy ones for every season. I have mugs for every place I've visited, like I've traveled to. So like I have every one of those. And then I just have mugs that people have like gifted me as a teacher. Like I've
Yeah.
gotten a lot of mugs and I love them all. Like there's just not one that I can pick and say, I don't want this one. Like I love them all. So yes, I do rotate. I rotate them out. Like I have this little stand outside. Depending on the season, depending on the month, I do rotate out my mugs so that the ones that I do use, I just grab them from there. But I was just curious to see how many you got rid of.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't
like
count them, but it was a lot.
yeah, I feel like every teacher can relate, right? Or past teacher can relate because that is
sure.
the one gift
Yeah.
we always get. It doesn't matter what year it is. It doesn't matter what grade you teach at one point or another. Maybe even multiple times a year from multiple students a year.
Yep.
You will get a coffee mug of some kind.
Yep.
Especially when the Cricut came out and like all the
Oh my
monogramming and stuff
God.
became such a big deal. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've received many a monogrammed or cricketed tumbler.
Yep.
And so yes, I've gotten a Mr. Silva in like Harry Potter font because all the kids knew I loved Harry
love
Potter.
Okay,
that.
fun.
Right? And so yeah, all of the mugs that I've received and still have, mind you, if there's any former student listening, I still have your mugs.
Yep.
Yay.
But all of my favorites have been ones gifted to me by students. And so
Yeah.
I have one of my favorites is the Harry Potter one. I've gotten a Justice League one because they know I love superheroes, and a Central Perk one, obviously, because they knew I love Friends.
I have friends
And
ones
so-
too.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also used to do the thing where I would get a mug from wherever I went, and then people started giving me mugs from wherever they've been as like a souvenir. So I just made the executive decision of if I have not been there, we're not keeping the mug because again, we don't have the cabinet space. So
Solid
I agree
rule,
with that
solid
I
rule.
got rid of some of those
Yeah.
and then just some other random ones that you get in swag when you go to a conference or whatever that
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
anything to me, you know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. I just love mugs.
Hey, book friends, it's Ethan. When I think about cozy reading essentials, slippers are at the very top of the list. A while back, I got my first pair of Bombas gripper slippers, and honestly, I wasn't expecting them to feel all that different from the other brands that I tried. But here's the thing. These are next level. They keep my feet warm and toasty without ever looking frumpy, so I can curl up with a book feeling both cozy and stylish. Bombas just knows how to do comfort right. And the best part is that for every item you buy, they donate one to someone in need. Since we're affiliates with Bombas now, we've dropped our link right into our newsletter. So if you're ready to upgrade your cozy essentials, be sure to subscribe and check it out there. You can always find the link in our bios on all of our social media accounts. We are Books Between Friends Pod across all social media platforms. It's a small way to support the show while keeping your toes happy. Now, let's get back to the episode. Well, we are stoked to be discussing the final section of our current read, Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Yay. Before we get too far, though, I'm going to send it back over to Jen for our standard PSA.
So before we get started, friends, quick spoiler warning. If you're listening to this episode, we are assuming you have read the entire book at this point. So this is just book one of Mistborn, right? Because it is a trilogy, so just book one. Because there are going to be some major spoilers throughout this conversation. So be ready. If you haven't read it, please go back and read it and then come back to us, okay? So one quick thing before we get started, if you're enjoying our discussion, you're enjoying the books we're discussing, you're enjoying the theories that we come up with, because sometimes they do come, they're a little crazy, especially when we did Onyx Store. We came up with some crazy ones, y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you're loving that, please let us know and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We would love to hear from you guys.
Great. Well, let's go ahead. Before we get to our deep dive, I'm going to give us a summary so we have some context to pull from our discussion today. So we started things off in chapter 32, so that's where we're going to start. Vin and Spook watch House Ilariel attack House Hastings. Spook teaches Vin finer control of Tin before Kelsier arrives to take her to meet Marsh. At the meeting place, they find a bloody, dismembered corpse and see Marsh, though Vin spots a hidden table leg he once used to smuggle a map. Back at Clubs' shop, the crew reads Marsh's note. Kelsier orders Renew to withdraw from Felice and prepares to move the crew into a hidden backup lair. He then departs to the pits of Hathsin, intent on destroying the Lord Ruler's source of adium. And that's just how things get started, y'all. Okay? So now the crew gathers in the backup lair. Kelsier returns triumphant in having destroyed the pits. Vin asks Cazed about the 11th medal before a lookout reports another execution in the city square. Watching from a rooftop, the crew sees Spook among the prisoners. Kelsier storms the carts to free them, engaging in a brutal battle against the Inquisitor Bendal, while Vin and Breeze manipulate soldiers' emotions to aid the fight. Elend also forces his way into the chaos, searching desperately for Velette. Kelsier duels Bendal in a vicious fight, ultimately decapitating the Inquisitor. But the Lord Ruler himself arrives, unmoved even when rebels impale him with spears. Kelsier stands against him and is killed in a single devastating blow, his body desecrated before the crowd. The Lord Ruler orders the Ska slaughtered, Inquisitors arriving to enforce his will. Vin rushes to Kelsier's fallen body, but is dragged to safety by Ham. In the aftermath, Vin and Cazed reflect on Kelsier's death. The crew splinters, mourning their leader, but rumors spread that Kelsier has been seen alive, already taking root as legend. The truth is revealed when the crew uncovers Kelsier's stockpiled weapons and his Khandra now wearing his bones. The Khandra explains Kelsier's grand plan. His death was always meant to spark hope and rebellion. He leaves Vin with adium, a picture of Mare's flower and the 11th medal. Inspired, Vin prepares to strike at the heart of the Lord Ruler's power. Vin infiltrates Creedic Shaw, convincing guards to join the rebels before facing two Inquisitors. She outsmarts them, wounding one and incapacitating another, before reaching the Lord Ruler's inner chamber. There, she finds him not as a godlike figure, but an old man sitting by a fire. Attempting escape, she is recaptured by the Inquisitors, confused but still determined after glimpsing the 11th medal's visions. Doxson learns Vin has been captured. Meanwhile, Elend is brought before the crew, warning them against their rebellion. In her cell, Vin is reunited with the badly beaten Sazed, who uses his ferrochemical prowess to break their bonds. Though his strength runs out quickly, Vin finds her medals and defeats the Ministry soldiers with Elend's help. She sends Sazed to protect Elend while she sets her sights on killing the Lord Ruler. Elend rejects his father's straff and commits himself to Luthadale's future. Vin is dragged to the throne room where she learns the truth of her parentage. Tevedian is her father, and that's officially confirmed, right? And watches as Inquisitors murder him on the Lord Ruler's orders. The rebellion reaches Creedic Shaw as Vin crashes through the stained glass throne room. She challenges the Lord Ruler, aided briefly by Marsh, who has secretly betrayed the Inquisitors and kills Carr. Yet the Lord Ruler's strength overwhelms them, his true power revealed through ferrochemical adium bracelets. At her lowest moment, Vin yanking away his bracers and aging him into a frail old man. With Sazed's help, Vin drives a simple spear through the Lord Ruler's heart, ending his 1,000-year tyranny. And then we round things out here. Marsh, Vin, and Sazed piece together what they've learned, the Lord Ruler's compounding abilities, the mysteries of allomancy, and the uncertain threat of the deepness. Kelsier's Khandra's contract is officially passed to Vin, binding the Khandra to her. Though she wrestles with the Lord Ruler's final words, Vin chooses hope, leaping into Elend's rooms to embrace him. The Empire is forever changed. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And
So
we're about to talk
much
about
happened. Let's go. Yeah.
it. Let's dive in.
Man.
Okay, so note here that our 3-2-1 is going to be just a smidge different, right? We're going to do 3 things that stuck out to us, 2 characters that had impactful moments, and instead of predictions, since we're at the end of this book, we're going to give you one final review of our book here. So let's get into it.
All right. Okay, so y'all, this was so hard to pinpoint down into 3 things. Like, I had a hard time trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about because so much happened. So as I was working on my notes for our discussion today, I literally had a whole other column where I put like extra things to talk about in case we got.
We even texted about this, like, seriously, we're sticking to 3 things
sticking
each.
to our 3 things.
That's
to
it.
So for you guys listening out there, we know we're not going to hit on every big thing that happened these last few chapters, but just know we absolutely loved everything in every chapter. It was so good. Okay. So one of the first things that really stuck out to me was the way Kelsier lectured Vin about friendship. So after Kelsier sees Marsh dead, he loses it a little bit and he goes and destroys the pits, right? Mm-hmm. And so after he does that, of course, the Lord Ruler's going to fight back, and he's bringing in a whole new set of executions. So he has all these prison wagons coming in. In the prison wagons, he has Renault and Spook. So, like, literally their people, right? And what I really liked about this moment is that it really changed my mind about Kelsier. I have been on this not liking Kelsier path. I have been seeing him as this very selfish, like, very self-centered guy who just had one thing in mind and didn't care about anything else. But I feel like this moment here really kind of changed all that for me because he really went out of his way to try to save his people, his friends, right? Mm-hmm. And even Ben tries to stop him. And she says, Kelsier, you can't save them. They're too well guarded and it's daylight in the middle of the city. You'll just get yourself killed. And then Kelsier looked at her just really disappointed and said, you don't understand what this is all about, do you, Ben? You never did. I let you stop me once before on the hillside by the battlefield. Not this time. This time I can do something. You still have some things to learn about friendship, Ben. I hope someday you realize what they are. And that just really stuck with me because it's like, man, I mean, he wants to go out there and save his people. These are the people that believed in him, and he's going to do whatever it takes to save them because he doesn't want more deaths on his hands, right? He doesn't want that anymore. He wants to be able to take things on himself. Like, so that really stuck with me, and it really stuck with Ben because at the very end, there's a moment where she remembers exactly what Kelsier said about friendship, and she goes back to save Sazed. And so just a great moment.
I agree. So this whole time I've been on the fence about Kelsier too. On the one hand, he seems to be this great leader. He's got this grand plan, but there was some things about his character and the persona he was putting forth that just seemed very selfish and He was just out for the revenge. But there were moments throughout where you could see that he really cared about the Ska as a people and wanted to help them. And his final stand against the Inquisitor and the Lord Ruler really showed that to me also. And exactly what you said, Jen, his final words to Vin about friendship and what this was all really about. There's no denying now what his real motivations are. He was in this to the end to save the Ska. And yes, by any means necessary, even if it meant his own life. And it ultimately did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a great moment.
Yeah, it was. I still find the way it happened and how it happened and when it happened to be a little polarizing as far as Kelsier's character goes, because I still want to like him because he obviously had great intentions, but just, I don't know. I like Kelsier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like we got enough of this enlightened Kelsier by the end of it, right? It seemed to all come together at the end, and then by the time it came together, he was dead.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like, I wanted more of the good Kelsier, right? I think I'll talk more about it when I get to my two characters that had like impactful moments, because he's one of them, and I'll kind of explain more of what I thought, exactly what you just said. But yeah, you're right. I didn't want to see the arrogant selfish guy throughout the whole book, but that's kind of what we got. So I'm glad that that's how it ended. I'm glad that that's how that part of Kelsier ended. The second thing that really stuck out to me was, again, y'all, I've already said this many times, I'm a romance girly at heart. I love a good little romantic side. So I know that Mistborn is definitely not a romantasy. I'm kind of glad Brandon Sanderson put in a little bit of romance in there. But the thing that really stuck to me next was how Ellen, again, I said it last episode, I saw he was a good guy. I knew he was a good guy, and I'm so glad I was proved right. And whenever these whole executions were happening, he went and was trying to look for Bella and was trying to save her. Like, he didn't want her to get involved with all that. He wanted to make sure she was okay, because he saw that her house was in the prison wagon. So he wanted to go save her. He was going to go break her out. So there, okay, I loved him already just
and
by
Kelsier
doing that.
saved him then too.
Oh, like, I know. That was so cute. He did it
like
for
begrudgingly.
her. But he did it for her. Yeah.
That was sweet.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. So, and then in the very end, Ben gets caught. She gets thrown in the dungeons, and he figures out who her people are, right? And he goes and tries to save her again. And at this point, thankfully, Zed had already been there to save her. So I also love that moment too. Just so many great little moments, y'all. But he shows up for her, and she was really happy, because she even said it. She's like, nobody has ever shown up for me. Nobody has ever come back. People who leave have never come back. Just,
I know.
Such a great moment.
She had already written him off, and then he came back for her.
And he came back for her, y'all.
Know.
Like, he went to go save her from the dungeons. Like, what a romantic story. And I get it. They're 17, whatever. Actually, how old is he?
I don't think we ever got his
Is he
age,
20?
but
I think he's like 20.
I think he's like a little bit older than her. I think that was mentioned.
Yeah, I think he's maybe 20. I know she's
Somewhere
17, and I want to say he's like 20, 21, whatever. Okay, so the other part to the Ellen thing, though, was there came a point where his dad was abandoning ship pretty much, right? And he was trying to take Ellen with him. He was like, let's go. Like, we're all going to die, but whatever. These house wars are getting ridiculous. And Ellen says no. He stood up to his dad and was like, no, I am staying here, and I'm going to try to do what I can to help the people here. And I was like, good for you. Finally. He finally took all that talk that he had with his friends, and he finally put it to use and did something about it. And I loved what he said. He was like, I want to ally with the Ska, because we have one common enemy, and that is the Lord Ruler, right? And so he knew that was going to be the best way to do it. And he even took all his people, all his soldiers, and took them to the Hastings house, where like they could unite together and fight and ally themselves against the Lord Ruler with the Ska. So I absolutely love that. I love how he was thinking. He wasn't just some naive kid who was just talking with his friends. Like, we finally saw him go into action, right? And honestly, I was a little surprised with how this whole book ended, because after everything that happened, he comes out as king, y'all. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Right?
That was
I feel like it just kind of happened because he like was the one noble that stood with the Ska.
Right.
And the Ska had already taken over the city. So
Right.
at that point, he was the only leader among them.
Yeah.
But it was funny when he was telling his dad that he was going to stay. His dad was like, oh, all right. And he thought they were going to kill him because he was like, all the Ska are going to just kill all the nobles, but
Right.
whatever. As we talked about last time,
Yeah.
his dad's original plan was to actually have him killed. So he was just like, oh, well, you're
Right.
doing me a favor because now you're going to get killed. And that's exactly what I wanted. Bye.
Well,
I know.
the Ska
Yeah,
were going to
like
kill
two birds
him.
with one stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he made it work out in his favor.
Yeah, no, he did. He knew who to ally himself with. He knew who to go talk to. He knew the right things to do. And honestly, I'm super interested to see what happens in book 2 because his dad's still alive. Like, does he have
There's
claim
going to be
now?
more politicking happening.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
Yeah, because there's this question mark of the adium, right? At the
Right,
end of
yeah.
the book.
Right.
So
It wasn't where they thought
his
it would
dad
be.
is right. And so his dad is going to have to come into play because I bet more than ever his dad is the one that took it away.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
And so he's
Before
going to
they
have to
fled.
find. Yeah. And so that's going to cause problems automatically because the kingdom that Elend is now charged with leading is not going to have any money because he doesn't have any
Yeah.
ATM. So yeah, that'll
That
be
was-
interesting. But I loved the part where, yes, that it was like right after that discussion that he had with his dad. And then in his mind, he's thinking, oh shit, I'm in charge. Holy shit. Like basically he has like
Yeah.
a freak out
It's like,
moment.
okay,
And then,
here we
Yeah.
go.
yeah, he allows himself to freak out. And then he's like, nope, I'm going to put a pin in that. It's time to think calm, cool, and collected, and let's do this. And then he had enough humility to turn himself in because he realized and had the foresight to realize that was the only way the Ska were going to not kill him because to your point, like what y'all have said already, they were out for blood. But I think it's just great leadership skills on his part for him to know that that's what it was going to take for them to listen to
Right.
him.
Yeah. And like I said, I
Very
just love
cool.
that. I love that he went into action and he used everything he read, everything that he was reading about how to approach this political war into action. So I'm super curious to see how he is as a king. I cannot wait to read book 2. So that was my second thing. And then my third thing was, hello, Ben the Savior. Like, yes,
Yeah.
loved it. So I won't talk about Kelsier too much until later, but I was really sad to see how that went down. But I knew that Ben would take over. The book has been hinting for a while now that she's more powerful, that she has more abilities than what Kelsier has. It was kind of leading towards this ending anyways, that Ben was going to be the one to take down the Lord Ruler, but she kills the Lord Ruler. And
Yeah.
you know what's crazy about it though was that whenever Kelsier left his letters to the team, he left a task for everybody to do. He didn't leave any for Ben. There wasn't anything there. The letter he left her was more about like, I'll make sure to say hi to, or I'll make sure that you say hi to me, or something like that, about like her always wanting a daughter or something. And so it wasn't about her taking on
he's-
any more task.
He said that his original task for her was going to be to assassinate all the heads of the houses, but she actually convinced him not to make that her task
Oh, right.
because of her sympathies towards the nobility.
Right. So she ends up taking it upon herself to go to Creedic Shaw and was like, you know what? I am going to figure out once and for all what is in there. If Kelsier wanted to find out, I will find out for him. And really, there wasn't anything in there for her to find out besides the Lord Ruler. That's where she found him.
Yeah.
And so pretty much didn't have an easy go-to. Obviously, she got caught, got thrown in the dungeons, whatever. Sazed came to save her. They were going to escape until she was like, no, he has to be dealt with. If we don't kill the Lord Ruler, everything else that happens will literally be for nothing, right?
Yeah.
Because she knew he was powerful, which is something that we were wrong about. You know, we thought he was just going to be a simple man behind closed curtains like the Wizard of Oz, but he was actually a very powerful person. And she was like, I can feel it. So if we don't take care of it now, this is going to be off or not. So I kind of suspected this in the last episode where we talked about the nobility and the strength. So she actually comes from a very pure line of nobility, which is why she's more powerful. And so we kind of got that confirmed with who her dad was. So that's why she is as powerful as she is. But she was able to figure out that the Lord Ruler, which again, I'll talk more about later, but was actually a talisman. And so she knew that his power was coming from the bracelets he wore. But not only just the bracelets he wore here, he had some embedded within his arms. Yeah. And so she knew that if she could get rid of those, she would get rid of the power, especially after everything that she learned about Furukami from Sazed. So she used her own power to pull and push those metals out of his skin and out the window. And he literally withered away into old age and then kills him. That was such a badass moment. Loved it. Because she was also using he killed Kelsier.
The metal.
Well, she used the 11th metal to figure out who he was, which again, I'll get into that later, but she just kept saying in her head, he killed Kelsier, like I have to kill him. He killed Kelsier, I have to kill him. She was like avenging his death pretty much. And so I just absolutely love that whole moment with them. Like it was just so much happened, so much got unpacked in that one moment. There's just so much to talk about.
And we learned a lot in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of like, it's kind of like you said, Ethan, it was either going to be Kelsey or Ven who kills the Lord Ruler, right?
Yeah.
Well, like the only thing I'll add to that is like I kind of called it on last time when I was like, I think the Lord Ruler somehow figured out how to use Furukami, and but like it turned out he was originally a Furukamist who gained the power of allomancy. So that's how he was able to amplify his powers. And that's why he appeared to be much younger than he actually was, and essentially able to make himself like immortal with his Furukami powers.
Right.
Amplified by allomancy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which we learn a lot of that in the epilogue, right?
Yeah.
And there's some mention that he was an allomancer that had Terraceman lineage, right? And then immediately after Vin learns that, or Sazed is the one saying all of this, right? He's saying how he thinks the Lord Ruler, quote unquote Lord Ruler, was so powerful. And then Vin starts thinking to herself, and she's like, well, like my power felt similar to his power. And which begs the question, does she also have some type of special lineage on her mom's side? Because we know where her dad comes from. Like, does she have some special lineage on her mom's side that might also grant her some kind of special abilities? I don't know if it's Terraceman lineage or it's something completely different. Right. But she has something going on. And I think maybe the earring, her mother's earring, might have some kind of hint at it or whatever. But there seems to be some significance to her earring.
But that's so smart.
Yeah. And especially because Sazed like gave her like another earring clasp to test her Terraceman abilities. So I don't know if that was maybe a hint that that her earring might be important later. I don't know. It could be nothing at all. But I just thought it was interesting.
No, I mean, I think you're kind of onto something because she felt the power in her. She just couldn't access it. So, like, she's not strong yet, y'all. Like, she's only been doing this for a few months. And look how strong she already is. She's still growing into her power. She's still trying to figure everything out. And even with that, she was able to take down the Lord freaking Ruler. I think there's definitely more to her power. I think that, Ethan, you might be onto something for sure. But yes, Steph, you definitely called it. You called the whole Furukami and allomancy thing like there being a combined power, which obviously made the Lord Ruler super powerful.
Powerful. Yeah.
So glad that Vin was able to take him down.
So like, can Vin do this stuff? And like, what more can she do with it? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my three things, the first one I wanted to bring up was the mist, because I don't think we've had a real discussion about the mist, and it kind of got brought up again in the epilogue when Sazed, Vin, and Marsh were debriefing everything that happened and what they might think the Lord Ruler's power was. So this is during their conversation in the epilogue. Marsh says to Sazed, "You said that there is no record of allomancers before the Ascension." Then Sazed said, "There are a few legends about the origins of allomancy, and nearly all of them agree that allomancers first appeared with the mist." And then And then Vin starts to think to herself, well, the Mistborn, she always thought it was because they practice their allomancy at night
Mm-hmm.
when there's mist.
Mm-hmm.
But she never really considered it being more closely linked. And so here we go. Did the Lord Ruler, who we now know was actually Rashek from the logbooks, who was a Feruchemist, did he unlock the power of allomancy during the Ascension? Is that what this big task that he was leading up to in the logbooks was? And did that somehow cause these mists? And then she also noticed some connection with the mist when she was having her final standoff with the Lord Ruler, how the mist kind of reacted to allomancy and the Lord Ruler's power. So there's more there. And then that would also explain why the logbooks never mention allomancy, just Feruchemy. So I'm like, okay, what is in the mist? What caused the mist? It's obviously, now we know, tied to allomancy, but what else, you know? What do you guys think?
Well, I know that Marsh, he was, I guess, theorizing that the power that the Lord Ruler got from the caves was allomancy, right? So you're right. I think there is a start to that, but I don't really know. There's just not near enough for me to come and pick up on what more or how it could be connected. Because I thought that in the very beginning of the book, it talked about the mist and the ash being a punishment to the people, like them having to live within the mist and ash. I thought that was all a punishment for the Scotch for them trying to rebel against the Lord Ruler. So I never had in my mind tied it to that until this very end, whenever they brought it up. So
It was kind of brought up that way, but it's more of a myth that the Ska believed in. And then Kelsier was like not afraid of the myths. And then the Ska at the end of the story were able to walk out into the mist without being scared of it. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Obviously, we're all going to read the second book, right?
Oh,
I would
for
like
sure.
to see
Right away.
Right. Yeah, I would like to see how the mist is described going forward, because up until this point, it's really just been a symbol, right? A symbol of the Ska's fear and of their lack of response to making a better life for themselves, right? Like, it's been this symbol of oppression against them. And so I'm very interested, now that we've gotten to the end of this book, to read parts of it like, oh no, there's actually a reason the mist is here, and let's find out more about it. Because outside of just seeing the mist, all we know outside of that is the mist wraiths and the Khandra that come as a result of the mist wraiths. I know. And so I'd be excited to see more of what the mists have in store.
Same.
And so my second thing that I wanted to bring up is that there are more metals that we don't know about. So from this last section, I picked up, there's at least 3 that we haven't heard of. So the 11th metal we thought was, the 11th metal is the alloy of gold, is what Vin realized after she was captured in Kedrick Shaw. And originally she thought that it was the alloy of adium, but the reason she realized this is because the 11th metal shows the past of someone else, and gold shows you your past self. So it made more sense that those two were alloys of each other. And so if that's the case, then the true alloy of adium is something else that we don't know of. So there's one. And then they also gave her a metal to burn while she was locked up that caused all the rest of her metals to burn out.
Yeah.
So that's a second one. And if there's one that does that, there's one that does the opposite. That means there's at least one more that we don't know about. And I'm like, is there even more?
Yeah.
There must be, because while she was thinking about this, realizing that the basic 8 metals that we know of kind of are in groups of 4. So we've just talked about 3 more. So if it follows that same pattern, there's at least 2 more out there, maybe. I don't know. Like, there's just like this whole other world of metals that we probably don't even know of.
I
Right.
mean, we didn't even know that you could combine Furukami and Elemency to be
Right.
such a powerful power. I mean, I know that was kind of dumb, but like we didn't even know that was a thing. So you're absolutely right that there is so much more out there we don't know yet. But yeah,
Right.
whenever they give her that thing to swallow to literally kill her power, I was just like, holy shit! Like there's
Oh my God.
something that can dull your power. It's going to leave you, and she couldn't even feel
Hmm.
anything. She felt completely
It
empty
was
and
all
vulnerable.
gone.
Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. It
So
was really
like,
interesting.
what else?
Yeah. I know. I loved every mention of these other metals, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I immediately latched on to the idea that this 11th metal allows you to see the past of other people, while gold allows you to see your past, your possible past self, right? And then I was like, well, if adium allows you to see someone else's future moves, and I was like, well, what is the alloy of that then? Like, or if adium is the alloy, like
Yeah.
then you're seeing your future self, I guess. And I immediately thought of that So Raven, like where she
Oh
gets little
yeah.
glimpses into the future,
You
into
get
the
the,
future.
yeah.
The-
Yes.
But yeah, actually you're right though. Like
Yeah.
being able to see the moves that you're going to make to be able to see if that's going to even help you or hurt you, right?
Right. And then if you burn both of them at the same time, you get a play-by-play
Oh my
of
God.
like a scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah. So I don't know.
Interesting.
I think there's a lot more to the world of allomancy that we have barely touched the surface on in this section.
For sure.
Agreed.
And then my third point is, okay, you guys, so the last words that the Lord Ruler said to Vin was, "You don't know what I do for mankind. I was your God, even if you couldn't see it. By killing me, you have doomed yourselves." And she did dwell on this for a little bit during the epilogue while she was thinking about it, and she talked to Sazed a little bit about it, but I feel like it bears repeating. What is it that is coming that will doom them? What did we not see here?
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to think that he was keeping something at bay that was saving mankind. Was it the deepness? Again, we still don't know what exactly the deepness is or was.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to come back? And what is that going to do?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think it goes along with what you said in the last episode. So you said in our last episode that you were observing that the Empire only wants nobility to practice elemency, right? And you were wondering why. Why just them? And we thought the obvious, right? We thought, oh, it's just because of control and power. Like you want to keep the power in check, right? I think there's more to that. I think you're right that there is more to that because you said that. You're like, I think there's more. So I think you're right that they just killed the Lord Ruler. So now we're going to have the Ska kind of like free from all this oppression. What's going to happen once all these people are now able to think for themselves, able to finally feel what they're feeling? And now all of these new mistings are going to come out because now they can be free. Now they can start practicing elemancy. What is that going to happen? Are we going to have people pushing for power here? Are we going to have a lot of political uproar and chaos? Is that what he meant by saying that they doomed themselves because now that he's gone and now that power that he kept on top of everybody is just going to be free? Like that's what I was thinking when he said that.
Yeah.
I don't know about the deepness. I really didn't put that one kind of like with that.
There was a moment, and I can't remember if it was in an epigraph or if it was Vin actually talking to somebody, but it was from the Lord Ruler's perspective. Oh, I guess it was an epigraph then. That he was saying I could either learn how to defeat the deepness or take it within me or something like that. And
Okay.
I'm wondering if Rashek took it within himself. And now that he's dead, where did it go? Right? Like, because the way they describe the deepness is the way that the Lord Ruler acts or has been acting, right? Where he's feeding
What
off the
if-
world. He's right. Go ahead.
Well, okay, as you're talking, like my wheels are turning, and I'm like, what if the deepness is allomancy? Like, And like that goes along with what you're saying, Jen. Like now all these people will have this power. Like if it's allowed to run amok, what could that mean for humanity?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, he kept everyone like
Scary.
oppressed for a reason.
Right.
You know, now that everyone's going to be kind of like free will, you can do what you know, you're actually free to practice elemency. You're actually free to think for yourselves. You're free to make your own decisions. What is that going
And
to
spread allomancy.
Yeah, now you can reproduce within each other. Like nobles and the Ska can without having to kill them. So that's going to make more powerful people the higher up you are with noble blood. So like, what is that going to mean? And what is it going to mean now that Terracemen are not being killed off?
Right. Now we'll be able to have more people who can practice both.
Exactly.
And we already saw how dangerous that could be.
You're going to rebuild history here now. Yeah, no, there's a lot coming.
Anyway.
There's a lot coming.
Yeah.
Not that I
Okay,
think he's
so-
a good person for like doing any of that.
No, yeah.
No.
There's a lot more coming for sure.
No. I'm just saying, like, what is this deepness?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Ethan, what are your 3 things?
Okay, so my 3 things. First, I'm talking about Marsha, but just Marsh. Something, I'm calling Marsh, like I called his predicament,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Where I thought it felt very easy, where he was getting all this information, and then I was like, I feel really bad for Marsh because I feel like he's about to die because this is very trappy. And then when it happened, I immediately texted Jen because Steph hadn't read it yet. And I was like, wait, this also seems very obvious and too easy. Like, I think he could actually be alive. And I don't know what
boom,
purpose
he
that would
was.
serve just yet. Yeah, and then boom. And then boom, he is. So I even wrote it in my notes. I wrote it in my notes. I was like, good on Sanderson for throwing us off like that. Because, so now not only is he alive, but it's revealed that when Vin is fighting the Lord Ruler is taken by surprise, first and foremost. And then as she's getting close to him and actually like going in for the kill, but she does it in the wrong way. And so he is able to kind of get his wits about him again. Then he calls for the other Inquisitors to come to his aid. Besides Carr. Carr is the one fighting Vin at the moment. And then she notices on the other side of the room that the door opens and Inquisitors start filing in. But one in particular is standing, and then by him is like this pile of Inquisitors' spikes. And what we find out is that, first and foremost, Marsh is alive. He was turned into an Inquisitor. So that is scarily awesome because the Inquisitors freak me the hell out.
Yeah.
I know.
And then we learn how you can kill an Inquisitor. Like, that's super cool. So they have spikes throughout their entire body.
Simple.
Yeah, super simple. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm kind of glad Kelsier isn't around to hear it because I feel like he would be upset.
I know, right?
Easy.
He
Like,
totally
he
would.
did do it, but he did it the hard way.
Yeah, he did it the hard way. And so all it requires is for the top spikes and the bottom spikes that are in their body to be separated. And the easiest way to go about that is to pull out the center spike that melds them all together from an Inquisitor's back. And once you do that Inquisitor is dead. And so that's what Marsh does to all the other Inquisitors plus Carr. And so that's the Lord Ruler's second army of skanks crossed off the list, right? If we're going back to the Mean Girls reference.
Yeah.
And she takes away his hot body, right? So
Yes, she did the whole Mean Girls plan.
You guys are so funny for doing
Plastic
that.
sabotage.
I love it.
Oh my god.
So that's my first thing is Marsh. I loved that reveal and I can't wait to see what more he brings to the table in the other books. The second thing that stood out to me, and I'm not going to hit on it too much here because I think we'll probably talk about it later, is the idea of Reen, her brother. We figure out, and it's kind of like a sad revelation, we figure out that Reen did not abandon Vin. He was actually captured by Inquisitors and tortured in a very lengthy manner to try to get information out of him, because the other Inquisitor that Kelsier kills was always suspicious that Reen was actually that he was still around, I guess, or that he was lying about his sister. Either way, he was suspicious around Reen and Vin.
Well, they were suspicious because they knew they belonged to the Lord Prelon, and they're not supposed to have any offspring because of the whole thing.
But at least Vin was his daughter. We don't know about Reen's
parentage.
Parentage. Yeah, we don't know if he's also Reen's dad.
Right.
But for sure Vin was his daughter.
Right. And so the Inquisitors were using Vin as a political bargaining chip against the Obligators to get control of the city. And because they saw the Obligators as inferior men, so they wanted to have the control. And so Vin's revelation, her identity, finally made that possible because it made the Lord Ruler turn on Tavidian. So good on the Inquisitors for finally getting that piece of information out, as long as it lasted them. But we learn that Reen did not abandon Vin, and he actually carried her secret about who she actually was to his death. But so we figure out that Reen is deceased, and he may not have been a great brother, but he did love Vin in his own weird way. And then the last point that I wanted to, that stuck out to me, was just the Ska Rebellion in general and how quick it all had to come about in this section. Everything happened so quickly, right? After Kelsier's death, it was boom, 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 boom. Right. And they were mourning for a quick moment, but then they found his note from his Khandra and say, hey, this is the plan. This was the plan all along. And here are your directions that I'm giving you. Carry them out, please. You have T-minus 30 minutes to make this all happen. Basically, it's like an episode of Chopped.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Here's your challenge.
I thought that was a great moment. And go. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. And it was so interesting to read the scene where Kelsier is having that final standoff with the Inquisitor, and he's trying to Vin and Breeze at the same time are helping him out by using their soothing abilities, and he's trying to get the Ska to get riled up too, to see this is possible. He's killing an Inquisitor. We thought they were immortal and can't be killed. And he wanted to show them that this was possible by doing it, and then also dying in the process to give them someone to look up to or someone to, I guess, fight for. And so it did happen, but the whole time, as we found out beforehand from Marcia's infiltration of the Ministry, we found out that this whole time they've been getting soothed by soothers that are stationed throughout the city to make sure they don't rebel. And so they started to riot, and then the Lord Ruler showed up and immediately soothed them all and shut it down. And so it was there the whole time. It was just like being suppressed. And then finally, part of his final plan was that he had all of those soothers assassinated, so that their feelings of rebellion and anger and rioting would continue to rise. And it, that did help them eventually in this rebellion. But like all these little parts of the plan were just so masterfully put together. And it was incredible to see it come together,
Well, I'm glad you brought up that master plan, because as we kind of transition to our two character moments, Kelsier was my one that I really wanted to talk about, because as I was reading, so let me show you really quick. Y'all have to see this. So I was reading, and instead of doing the little note taking that I did last time, I was putting it in my notes section on my phone. So like I just kept writing and writing and writing every time like something happened. Like that's
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
yeah. And so one of the first things I wrote down when I got to the section about Kelsier and like how everything got revealed was I put Kelsier the martyr question mark. Like that was what really stuck to me with Kelsier as a very impactful character, especially in this section, right? So yeah,
Right.
totally wrong about Kelsier. Like, wow. I absolutely loved that I was wrong about him because I wanted to be wrong about him because I feel like he was a great character. Well, actually, I had said that. I said he was a great character. I just didn't know what his like intentions were, right?
Right.
But Ethan was completely right about his prediction on Kelsier that he was not going to make it towards the end. So like that even though like I kind of knew that he had some merit behind that, I was still pretty shocked and just really sad when he died. He gave the
Yeah.
ultimate sacrifice for everything because exactly what Stephanie said. You said you wanted to know what his other motives were. You didn't fully understand where he was really coming from, and that's because he had this ultimate big plan that he just was not sharing with anybody. And as I mentioned earlier, we didn't really get to see a lot of the good moments from Kelsier. It's because he had such a heavy burden to shoulder. He had the secret that he couldn't share with anybody except for that Chandra person because he needed him to know that, right? But he couldn't share that plan with anybody, so he had to carry that with him. And so we didn't get to see all the best parts of Kelsier, and that makes me kind of sad. But I'm really glad that he didn't become Lord Ruler 2.0. So glad, right? He really just wanted to give the Ska hope. Like that's what he wanted to become. And he knew that him and his crew would never be enough to take down the Empire. He knew it was going to have to be the Ska population themselves in their entirety to be able to do that. And he needed to give them something to believe in. So I really love what Sayzed said here when he like realized the plan. He goes, he always asked me the same question. He always asked what gave religion so much power.
Yep.
Each time I answered him the same. I told him that it was because their believers had something they felt passionate about, something or someone. And then what Ham realized, I also really liked, and I wrote this down, and he said, he planned all this from the start, Ham said. Kelsier knew that the Ska wouldn't rise up. They'd been beaten down for so long, trained to think that the Lord Ruler owned both their bodies and their souls. He understood that they would never rebel, not unless he gave them a new god. And so he gave the ultimate sacrifice. So he was my impactful character this time around. It was just such an amazing
Absolutely.
moment. And
Oh, yeah.
exactly what you said, Steph. He has been planning this for so long. This was not something he just thought up one night. He has been putting this into action for so long. Just wow.
Well, even when he was destroying the pits of Hathsin, right? Like
Right.
even in his little monologue that he was saying, he was like, my powers were newly founded that night, but I had immediately started hatching a plan right then and there.
Right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And so that's how long he's been planning this ever since then. Kelsier was also one of my characters, and so I'll just dump what I had for Kelsier here too, since we're in the same space.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so heartwarming when because he said, "I'll say hi, I'll tell Mare all about you."
That's
And-
so sweet.
And she always wanted a daughter, so by extension he's claiming her as a daughter himself.
I know.
And so I thought that was so sweet. I was like, man, Vin is getting like all the love here at the end,
I know.
and I'm so happy for her because that's
Yeah.
all she's ever wanted.
Yeah.
So
Right.
good on that. I was a little uncomfortable at the beginning of this section because they make Kelsier out to be very Christ-like.
Yeah.
Because he sacrifices
visiting the
himself, he
Ska.
dies. Yes, and then he gets resurrected and is visiting like he does with like Jesus does with the apostles, like
Yeah.
right after his crucifixion. And so I was like, I don't know how I feel reading this. It's slightly blasphemous, but I thought it was very cool, like very smart storytelling. Mm-hmm. Like
Yeah.
it had to happen that way in order for it to have the same effect,
Right.
because the resurrected Kelsier is what prompted all of the Ska to rebel that night, right?
Yep.
Without
Right.
seeing him, they wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Exactly.
And so even that was part of the plan, down to the T's being crossed and the I's dotted, right?
Crazy.
So yeah. So I do feel like he kind of used the Lord Rulers. He gave the Lord Ruler a taste of his own medicine, right? He took all of the feats that the Lord Ruler has done in his past and did very similar things, but leveled up in the sense that he also applied what he had learned from Sazed about religions and the people that follow them needing someone or something to be passionate about. And so he just combined the two and became exactly what the Ska needed to start their rebellion. And so I just thought it was very well done.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because the Lord Ruler kept calling himself their god. And the reason they didn't accept him as their god is because he wasn't a benevolent god. He wasn't someone to fight for and believe in.
Right.
And Kelsier made himself that for them.
Yeah.
So he ultimately did the Lord Ruler's plan, but better, like you said. You
Right. Yeah. Well, again, glad you guys brought that up because it brings me into my next character. So the next character,
it all ties in.
It really all just ties in, yeah. The next one that I had is like my character that had an impactful moment was the Lord Ruler himself, right? And it's funny because thinking back on our first episode, he was one of the characters I talked about too. And now closing this book, at least, not the whole story, but the book, he's my other character, or he's the character I'm focusing on. So completely called it. Last episode, I said that I thought he was a Terraceman and I thought he was a Rashek guy. And I will say one thing though. I don't know that it was 100% confirmed, but Vin said it. She called him out. He never said yes or no. He just said, you don't know what you're talking about. So I did pick up on that one little thing. I was like, okay, I'm saying it is just because that's how this book ends. This is what I'm thinking. So I think the Lord Ruler is AKA Rashek. So before this was actually revealed with the battle between Ben and the Lord Ruler, there was another scene that solidified that he was at least a Terraceman for me, even if it wasn't Rashek himself. But like whenever Ven breaks into the Creedic Shaw to try and find whatever, the Lord Ruler was hiding, she instead finds a very frail looking Lord Ruler. And she remembers seeing a very young and powerful one back in the square whenever he killed Kelsier. And so then I remembered what Sazed had said about Furukami and how they have to store up the power. And so I was like, yep, that's him. Like he's storing up his power right now by being frail and by looking that way. So like that's the same guy, right? So like that already solidified it for me that he at least was a Terraceman. So I just thought that maybe it was Rashek because they talked about it in those little logbooks that Rashek aided him, the guy who was writing the logbooks, and that he felt that he was more superior and that he should be in charge, right? So the Lord Ruler tells Ven as they're fighting, he says, you think this is the first time someone has tried to kill me, child? I've survived burnings and beheadings. I've been stabbed and sliced, crushed and dismembered. I was even flayed once near the beginning. I am God. God cannot be killed. God cannot be overthrown. And then Ven remembers that the guy from the logbook was actually not like that at all. He was way more humble than that. And so Ven used the 11th metal to see the Lord Ruler's past self, and she realized that she was looking at Rashek just by what he was wearing. And so she says, Rashek.
He's a Terraceman.
Yeah. And so she says, Rashek, that's your name, isn't it? You aren't the man who wrote the logbook. You're not the hero that was sent to protect the people. You're his servant, the pack man who hated him. You killed him. That's what happened that night. That's why the logbook stopped so suddenly. You killed the hero and took his place. You went into the cavern in his stead and you claimed the power for yourself. But instead of saving the world, you took control of it. And so, again, he didn't say, yes, that's me. He just said, you don't know what you're talking about, right? And so
but I think
it makes
you're
sense.
right. Yeah. Like
it makes sense. I still think that it is, but I think there's a little bit more to that maybe we'll get in book 2. But yeah, so that was like that to me. I was just like, whoa, that was a huge reveal. It kind of got hinted right before that, so I was kind of already, we were already all picking up on that.
Together.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think you are onto something there, but I picked up on something slightly different. That I think he's Rashek. And I don't think that he was referring to himself when he was like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I think that there is a possibility that the one that we assume that he killed is still alive.
Okay.
That
The one who's supposed to be the hero of ages.
Yeah,
is,
the
and
real,
he
the
still
true
could
hero.
be the hero of ages,
Okay.
which we would automatically assume it would be Vin. Or I
Right.
might assume that it would be Vin, but
Right.
maybe not. Because I do think that there was still a question mark in that whole conversation that they had. Because
For sure.
I will also say the second person that had an impactful moment for me was also the Lord Ruler. So, and I'm not going to add to anything that you just said because that's pretty much in a nutshell there of what I said. But yeah, that was the only difference that I wanted to add there. It was like, I think you're onto something, but that's how I saw that conversation playing out.
Well, book 3 is called The Hero of Ages.
Yeah,
That is
so
true.
I guess
That is
that's
true.
when we might know who
Yeah.
it actually is.
So I'm assuming it is leading up to who the actual hero of ages is and what
Yeah.
happens. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, just keep
Yeah,
reading.
that'll be good.
Yeah. But I think you're right, Eden. I think that it's not about maybe his the person. I think because I really do think it was Rashek, and he is a terroristman, obviously, because we found out that that's how she killed him. But you're right; it could be that he or she is still alive.
Or, okay, so that quote that you just read through about all the different ways they've attempted to kill him, like maybe this Lord Ruler, again, like going back to our prediction from last time, there are many Lord Rulers, maybe. They, all the different iterations of him have been cut down in these ways, and like someone else has taken place, Maybe it's a group effort. I don't know.
I mean, it could be that, yeah, he's not the only person that's all that powerful, and that's how he's been able to stay in power for so long.
Yeah, because there wasn't just one Tersman with the guy who was writing the logbook,
No,
right?
there's
There
another
was like a
one.
group of them.
Yeah,
Right.
there's,
So I don't like maybe that'll come up.
You're right.
And I'm just coming up with this stuff off the
No, I
fly
mean,
right now.
no, you're right. Like there was more than one person. I think Rashek was
Yeah.
just the only one that he kept like referencing that
He was, like-
hated him.
Right, he was the one
Right.
like most against him
Yeah.
the whole time.
What if the others became the Inquisitors?
Ooh. I mean, they are pretty
okay.
powerful.
Yeah,
And
they're like
people
even though
assume that
Marsh
they're-
killed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. So when Marsh was talking about, so when Marsh marched into like the whole battle between Vin and the Lord Ruler, and the Lord Ruler got upset, he was like, "How dare you turn against me? I made you who you are. Like I made you powerful. Like what if he taught the Inquisitors how to burn." Or how to take Allomancy and Furukami and combine that power. Like
Yeah.
that's why the Inquisitors
well, like
are so
what's
powerful.
up with those nails?
Right.
Like, are they using Furukami and Allomancy? Is that what those nails are for? Like.
Because Marsh
So-
also refused to talk about the transition between what he was and what he became. He said he didn't want to talk
Right.
about it.
He didn't want to.
Right.
And then also the way that they took over from the obligators, the way they were talking sounded a lot like how Vin realized that the Lord Ruler was Rashek,
Yeah.
and saying we should be the ones in charge. We like and saying the obligators are lesser men than us. And that was kind
Right.
of the same wording that they were using in
True.
the logbook when they were talking about whoever the hero was supposed to be was.
Y'all. So much more.
Yeah.
So much more.
So much there.
I think language is very important here. Like we have to recognize certain patterns because I think there is something there. I
Yeah.
think
For sure.
because that superiority that is being shown. So maybe not all of them are terracemen or were the terracemen that were originally there because after all, we learned that Marsh was able to become an Inquisitor.
Right.
So there could be, but I think at least some of them may have been the terracemen that were originally
Like the
there with
original,
Rashek on that
yeah.
day.
Yeah. So mine are starting with Vin, and I wanted to talk specifically about the way she was able to gain access to the inner chamber at Kedrick Shaw. So like after we find out that Kelsier's actual original plan was for him to die in the end, and she didn't really have a task, she decided immediately that she needed to figure out what was in that inner chamber because Kelsier had tried 2 times and failed to figure it out. And so she marched right up to the palace, and instead of fighting, so the reason why I wanted to bring this up is like just shows how much she has learned through all her training, not just with Kelsier, but the other allomancers that she has been spending time with. There is more than one way to fight. And instead of fighting with the guards at the palace gates, she convinced them and used her soothing abilities to basically abandon their post and go join the rebellion of the Ska. Because earlier we realized when she was talking with Marsh that a lot of the garrison and the guards are Ska that have decided to basically take a job that pays well, working against their own people.
Yeah.
But they are Ska. So she, was able to convince them that, they needed to join up with the Ska, and told them like, they're going to need your training. They're going to need your abilities to be successful, and go join them. And they did. And they just let her walk right into the palace. And then there were also other parts of her getting into that inner chamber where she was being like just so clever with the way she was fighting and using her allomancy. She took this dust of metal, I think it was iron, was it? And like when she was up against one of the Inquisitors that was keeping her from that inner chamber, she pewter. Okay, so she like blew the dust at him so that all he would see was just a bunch of blue lines, and essentially make him blind to what she was doing. Just so many cool things that were so cool and clever of her to think of. And she didn't have to use a lot of her power. It wasn't just brute force the way that she got in there. Because the first time that she tried to access the chamber with Kelsier, they were just going in fighting. And she realized there's another way. And she made it. Unfortunately, she got caught. But she made it, and she found what was in the inner chamber. So she was successful in that part.
Yeah.
And then my second character moment, Ethan, you already talked about this, but I just wanted to call out, I knew that that Reen, there was more to him than just a terrible older brother. I knew that he, in his own way, somehow wanted to keep her safe, and he did. He didn't actually abandon her. He was caught by the Inquisitors and tortured, and, like you already mentioned, he kept her secret all the way to the end, because, the last thing the Inquisitor said, was that he promised them that she had died years ago. They didn't believe him, but that was the last that he never broke under their torture. So I just wanted to call it out again. And she even mentioned afterwards, thinking that Reen wasn't a perfect brother, but he didn't abandon her ultimately. So that was so great.
I do love that that comes into a full circle type moment when she is trying to decide if she wants to approach Ellen in the epilogue or not.
Yeah.
Because she was just like, she wanted to walk away from Ellen. She was just like, I can't do that. I can't get myself close to another person again after everything Reen has told me. And then she goes, but wait, he actually was trying to protect me. He actually did not abandon me. He actually loved me. And that's what makes her turn around to go talk to Ellen. I do want to say that was a great moment. I was just like, yes. Okay. I do want to say, though, that you were totally right, Steph. Everything he did, the abuse, the way he made her doubt everyone, was exactly for that purpose, to stay away from the Inquisitor's eye, to stay in the shadows so that nobody saw her, nobody noticed her, nobody would know who she was, because it would mean her death. And so, even though it was a very harsh way to do it, he did it for that reason, to keep her alive.
Yeah, he had good reason, but his methods were questionable.
A little sucky.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, that was three moments that stuck out to us, 2 characters that had impactful moments, and now it is time not for our predictions, but our one review. So I can get things started here, because I normally reserve my 5 stars, because I'm not as fast as a reader. I've mentioned this several times. I'm not as fast a reader as Steph or Jen, and that's why I typically don't give out 5 stars a lot. But this one, I gave a 5-star, baby.
Yay!
The The excitement I felt reading this reminded me very much of my reading experience reading Fourth Wing. It gave me a sense of wonder while I was reading because I was learning the world through Vin's eyes. When she was awestruck at something, I felt awestruck too. This book had everything I like, minus dragons. It had a cool magic system. It had fantastic world building and lore. Rich characters, rich main characters and side characters. I felt like even the side characters got their due, right? It had political intrigue. Hands down, one of the best books I have read this year, by far.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking back on the books we've read so far in our pod and how we reviewed them. And we've only ever reviewed the book the same twice. So like every other book, we've all had different ratings for our books. This one and Our Darker Shade of Magic is the only one where we all had the same rating for them. That's amazing.
And they were fives.
Y'all.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're both fives. Yeah. So I gave this one a 5 stars too. Absolutely loved Brandon Sanderson's writing. I understand the fascination. I get it. Like completely ate it up. My very first Sanderson novel. Cannot wait to get more into the other worlds that he has built. I do plan on starting the Well of Ascension either tonight or tomorrow. Like that's definitely next on my read. Like I have got to know more about what's going on, especially now that Ellen's king. I'm just kidding. That's not why. I want to know the other stuff. I mean, it's part of it, duh.
Yeah.
But I want to know the other stuff. So I loved the complexity of the characters, the way that Sanderson just really kept me on my toes with their true motives and their true character. Also building such a cool, mysterious world with a really cool magic system. I could not have thought up Allomancy. That's just so cool. And the fact that we still haven't gotten through all of it is pretty amazing. I just ate it up, y'all. And there's just so much more to uncover. So I can't wait to see how it all ties together. Mistborn was truly captivating. I had so much fun discussing the theories and predictions that came out of all of this. There were so many, and it was so hard, y'all, to just really narrow down 3 or 2 topics to talk about. So that's how great this book was.
Okay, we've all said it. 5 stars for me too. Like where do I even start with this? It's like from the top, the magic system is like nothing I've ever read before, and the character growth and development, you know, obviously with Vin and Kelsey are both like great character arcs, but like you said, Ethan, even the side characters had great development. Even Reen, who died before the events of the book even start, it had some character development. How do you do that? Props to Sanderson. That's amazing. And then, you know, and there were no perfect characters. Everybody was a complicated character, and that's how I like them best. I love me an imperfect, complicated character who's morally wishy-washy or questionable. I just eat that up because it feels real. It feels more like true to human nature. So I love that. And I mean, this book had everything that I love in a book. Again, minus the dragons. And I also can't wait to continue the series. There's so much more to learn, so much more to unravel. We already have barely dipped our toes into this world, and there's still more questions. So I'm also going to be starting right away. I can't wait. All right, you guys. So that was our final discussion of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And next week, we are going to start our next deep dive book, which is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. So our first episode on this discussion will be over chapters 1 through 6. So make sure you read up before you listen to our next episode. And interact with us on social media. We are Books Between Friends pod on all platforms. We want to hear from you guys. The discussion does not end here. We want to know what your thoughts were on the ending. Also, if you had any other predictions that panned out, you know, this is the best part of discussing books and reading, is like all the ideas and thoughts that we come up with. And we want to share that with you guys. So let us know your thoughts.
All right, everyone. Like Steph said, our next book is Blood Over Brighthaven. So stay tuned for that. And here is a little teaser. A city cloaked in beauty, secrets, and shadows, where every choice comes with a cost. In our very first episode of Blood Over Brighthaven, we'll be covering chapters 1 through 6. This book wastes no time pulling us in with politics, magic, and high-stakes tension that had us hooked from page 1. We'll be sharing our predictions, digging into world building, and of course, spiraling into the plenty of theories along the way. Our deep dive into Blood Over Brighthaven starts next week, and you will not want to miss it.